What is up, aka Padders? We're not done with Spider-Man. Spider-Man Far From Home just got number one at the box office, made some good bank, but we're talking about a real Spider-Man blockbuster. Amazing Spider-Man 2, the movie everyone hates. This is the Batman and Robin. This is the Terminator Salvation. This is Star Wars, The Last Jedi of the Spider-Man universe. We're going to get into it right now. Let's get to that intro and rock and roll. Welcome back, everyone. Hey. You out there, I'm looking at you. I'm listening to you. You're listening to me. Thanks for hanging out. Thanks for joining me. If you haven't already heard, I am Peter A. DeLuca, another known as PAD. That's right, P-A-D. I am AKAPAD, a.k.a. PAD, and this is a.k.a. PAD's Audio Audacity. We're still dealing with a name change or something. We all know what's happening with the name of this podcast, but hey, welcome here. I'm talking to you from the Audio Audacity studio in Center City, Philadelphia, and we just like geek things here. We like dorks. We like nerding out the way it used to be done. Sorry, I'm just drinking some coffee. What do I mean by that? Well, I just wrapped Stranger Things Season 3. I'm going to do a lengthy discussion over this, but if you go back to my 31 Days of Dread of last year, or maybe 2 years ago, one of my final episodes was Stranger Things Season 2. And even then, I was immensely disappointed. The series didn't move me. To me, it felt like these characters have not grown at all. And what do I mean by that? Because here's the funny thing: they always grow in the beginning of the episodes, like the first 2-3 episodes, and then there's like a transition in the last episode. Like some coming of age moment. Prior season, it was like this prom dance. This season, it's someone's moving, a lot of tears, and there's no other growth. See, these characters, these kids, are literally staring pure evil in the face. Like entities whose sole purpose is to decimate and dominate and incorporate. We'll say, because the season had a like body snatcher like vibe to it, which I thought was cool. And every time these characters run into one of these problems, time and time again, it's like no one's ever been around the last 2 seasons. Like, why are they surprised? They should have beats. They should have things understood. This season introduced Russians. Okay, the Russians should know about these guys. The Russians should know that there was like interference with some of the stuff with America. If like with the American efforts, so to speak, of the experiments. You know what? This is not even a good review. Because see, there's so much set up for Stranger Things, and to analyze it, and I will say to tear it down, because my intent would be to tear it down. I gotta go deep into it. We're not going to do that. But look, this past weekend, really big weekend for Spider-Man Homecoming. Oh, and just so you know, I did not. I don't really favor Stranger Things. Okay, to me, it's very lazy storytelling. But let's get to Spider-Man. So, if we go to Spider-Man Homecoming, the first day of release for Spider-Man Homecoming, and this is the Marvel Cinematic Universe revival of the Spider-Man after a disastrous, what people would say, disastrous run by Mark Webb and Sony, the Andrew Garfield Amazing Spider-Man and Amazing Spider-Man 2. Amazing Spider-Man 2 potentially destroyed the franchise, and something had to be done with the character, and this left channels open for Sony to still want to make money off of the character, and the Marvel Cinematic Universe and Kevin Feige to come in and negotiate a agreement for them to use good old Webhead in Captain America 3 Civil War. I call it Captain America 3. because we like using numbers for sequels here. And that was like a huge surprise. Okay, and part of that agreement was that like Sony would get the merchandising and the licensing money, like, and then Marvel would get and they would like split the box office and maybe even split some of the production costs. But it was kind of like the split deal. Okay, and it really shook people. It surprised a lot of people to finally have Spider-Man in the Marvel Cinematic Universe. The way that they used them, the relationship with Peter Parker and Tony Stark going into Civil War that overflowed into Spider-Man Homecoming. There was just a lot of anticipation for all of it at that point. Now, making Spider-Man essentially Iron Man 2.0 is a completely ballsy move. I mean, it is a visionary move. It's a move full of gravitas, but it's also not Spider-Man. And that's my long-running criticism of Spider-Man Homecoming. And I still have yet to see Far From Home. But Far From Home, we're talking post-Endgame here. We're talking a good branded product of everyone knowing that this is like the end of Phase 4, and things within the Marvel Cinematic Universe will be taking a leap from the launch pad, so to speak, of Spider-Man Far From Home. So there's just a level of anticipation when it comes to what comes next in the Marvel Cinematic Universe. This is a lot of what fills the theater when it comes to this movie, because when we compare it to Homecoming, Far From Home is relatively operating $10 million less per day. Okay, day one of Spider-Man Far From Home was a Tuesday. It was kind of like a Wednesday. It was a Wednesday. Spider-Man Homecoming was a Friday. So these are factors. We have to kind of like look at it from like a couple different angles, but it's still like a $10 million difference. And Far From Home had a huge holiday as the lead-in, which is huge, like beneficial. You get almost like 3 whole days. You get 3 extra days of box office when it comes to that type of release. It's one of the coveted releases when it comes to just, hey, we got to put out a movie, got to make money. What's the best chance? What's the best idea we got? Putting a movie out on July 3rd it's just huge. It's huge. But so anyway, that's your Spider-Man update. So look, Far From Home is kicking it at the box office. It's almost up to $200 million. It's at 185. It's just doing fantastic. But we're not really here talking about that. We're talking about the Amazing Spider-Man. And what I mentioned in the previous podcast that I was not going to talk about this. I was going to have to watch Amazing Spider-Man 1 or 2 a few times. And to sit down and discuss it. Now, there might be a future, a future discussion on that. Okay, I might just go back and rewatch this movie more. I've seen it about 2 times since you last heard from me. And why is that? Because the good folks at Amazon had a really good Spider-Man sale. They were doing all the Spider-Man movies for $8 a piece. These ones on digital usually run $15 and up. And I was like, let me just buy Amazing Spider-Man 2 and just watch it. Let me just go into it, because I realized that I couldn't. Everyone's supposed to hate this movie. Okay, it's trash. Everyone says it's trash. Everyone says too many characters, too many plot points. Jamie Foxx and Paul Giamatti, who are 2 of your villains, one's Rhino, one's Electro, their portrayals are just straight up comic book. They are not realistic. They're too cartoony. They're too this and too that. Jamie Foxx, and I believe appropriately so, gets compared to Jim Carrey in Batman Forever. Jim Carrey's performance in Batman Forever echoes Jamie Scott's Electro. It really does, like 100%. And we also have a gender bend with Electro. Electro is normally he's a honky white bread, and now we have him as Jamie Foxx. I love Jamie Foxx. Okay, I'm really hoping that the new McFarlane Spawn movie happens, because I think Jamie Foxx is just so perfect for the role of Al Simmons, like 100% perfect. And I would like to see a low budget, version of Spawn with Jamie Foxx headlining it. So you sit down and you are told, and you are to believe that the Amazing Spider-Man 2 is, like it's one of the worst movies ever made. We have Jim Carrey, Jamie Foxx as the Riddler / Electro. We have Paul Giamatti as a Russian gangster that is hardly in the movie to begin with. But his performance is stupid. And then what? And when I realized outside of the platitude surface, like the platitude perceptions of what this movie is, I realized I had to watch it. It's been years. I've maybe only seen the movie one time. And so what I did is I grabbed my popcorn and I sat down and I literally watched this movie as if I've never seen it before. Now, why is this important? Why do I preach about this a lot? Because there's so much in the air when it comes to when we sit down to watch a movie. There's so much already in our heads. Like I said with the Green Goblin and the Tobey Maguire 2002 Spider-Man, is you're told that the Green Goblin sucks because he has design work similar to the Mighty Morphin Power Rangers movie that came out in 95. That's lazy and erroneous. That's an erroneous take. It's just stupid. And then they'll tell you, like, oh, there was this other version of the Green Goblin that they screen tested for. Well, guess what? It didn't work. And now this is where we are. And, like, a lot of these ideas and a lot of the audience, they won't fight through the weeds. They won't fight through some of these platitudes, these platitude reviews, these platitude opinions. They won't fight through it to get to the end to watch the film themselves. They will pass. This is essentially what's happening right now too with the Transformer movies. There's all these platitude opinions about the Transformer movies, and no one's really talking about the story and the guts and the essence and a lot of the intent within movie to movie, or the intent of all 5 of those movies, because they do have intent. So I had my popcorn. I'm sitting down. I'm using. Everybody wants to know what popcorn bucket. I am literally, no joking, wearing a Venom shirt while eating popcorn from a Venom tin popcorn bucket that I did buy during Venom. Look, man, we geek out right. So I watched this movie and I forgot what movie I put on. Because the first 15 minutes is this sequence with Peter Parker's parents, and I honestly thought I bought the wrong movie by accident, or maybe just maybe fumbling on my phone, not paying attention. I thought I had Amazing Spider-Man 1. The beginning of this movie is the origin of the Parker family. Okay, this is the first time in cinematic history, I would say even better than the comics, that we're dealing with the past of Peter Parker in a very engaging and enlightening, thrilling way. In a very Tom Clancy way, we're dealing with the origin of Peter Parker. Now, previously in the comics, it took him a long time to get into the parents. Spider-Man has been deconstructed so many times that he is no longer relevant in the comics. What I'm about to say is something along those steps. It's along that path. Is in the comics, they went into Peter Parker's past and they revealed that the Parker family, Mr. and Mrs. Parker, they were agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. and blah, 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 blah. Okay? Something very similar was used for this movie, but, we have an airplane, like a private jet. We have a file that has to get uploaded, and we have secrets. Okay, and you can guess what happens. Okay, previously to this flight, the Parkers are trying to escape. They drop off Peter Parker to Aunt May and Uncle Ben, or Uncle Owen, whoever the hell it is. And boom, it's like we're barely even at the title sequence, and then it jumps into this really well done action sequence of Parker chasing, some cars through the city, is trying to prevent these slime capsules from like getting lost or stolen or even broken. And it's the sequence that launches this movie, that reintroduces us to Spider-Man, is comedic Peter Parker, funny Peter Parker, action Peter Parker, doing ridiculous things Peter Parker with webbing and grabbing stuff, saving people Peter Parker, wisecracking Peter Parker, and Peter Parker in spandex. A lot of people forget that we're now dealing with a Spider-Man proper design in this movie. I always liked the updated design for Amazing Spider-Man, but they took a Batman Begins approach when it comes to the Amazing Spider-Man movie, which is, let's ground it, let's go more into like the human drama, and we need a villain. Okay, so for Amazing Spider-Man, the previous movie, they used Lizard, and the Lizard was literally teased for 3 previous movies, never revealed, never came into fruition. The fans seem to want Dr. Connor as the Lizard, and they got that in Amazing Spider-Man. And I do feel like that helped carry the movie. A lot of people have issue with the plot of of Amazing. People will say they love comic book movies, but they hate the plots. And the plots that they usually hate are like the villain trying to kill everyone, or the villain trying to take over. Okay, we're dealing with a comic book movie. You have to accept all of the elements and the tropes. I'm so sorry, but the Amazing Spider-Man, it technically has the same type of villain, the same plot, and the same hero's journey that Bruce Wayne has in Batman Begins. And that is one of the reasons why I love the Amazing Spider-Man. So this movie, I'm getting into it, and I would say some of the criticisms are right. I think the performance of Paul Giamatti in that opening scene, who they're teasing and leading into becoming the Rhino by the end of the movie, and Paul Giamatti's character just bookends the movie, and I think in a very delightful, fun way. It's right, like it's a little over the top, and then within that scene we're introduced to Jamie Foxx, and like that seems off, and then we time jump, okay, and then it's like we are struggling, we're like we're still dealing with a Peter Parker who doesn't quite get life, who's not quite good at life. He is struggling, Aunt May is struggling. Peter Parker rejects Gwen Stacy because of the he doesn't want to endanger her, and there is a true like romance brewing between the two. Gwen Stacy is phenomenal. I forget who is the girl that plays Gwen Stacy. Emma Stone. Emma Stone is phenomenal. The chemistry with her and Andrew Garfield is phenomenal. It's such a home run. So I'm watching this movie and I'm thinking like, where are we? Where does it break? And we go back to Jamie Foxx, and Jamie Foxx is just over the top. But the thing is, though, they established that he's like a bruised. He's just bruised, and he like just wants a friend, and they do set up the hatred he develops for Spider-Man later. But this movie, the criticisms of this movie being full are 100% accurate, because we also have Green Goblin. The Green Goblin's dying. Norm Osborn's dying. He's not really the Green Goblin. Harry Osborn gets introduced, and he has like a relationship with Peter, and those are some really good scenes. And then like we deal with a family disease. Harry Osborn tries to cure himself. He becomes a Green Goblin. In an origin, a villain origin, like a villain power origin, a villain being corrupted origin, like a villain wanting destruction type origin. It's acceptable. It's fine. It's again no different than Maguire, William Dafoe origin in Spider-Man 2002. So like again, like I'm marching on, and like Jamie Foxx isn't really in this movie at like pivotal points as the human form, because he does turn into Electro. People had issue with the origin of Electro. I'm fine with it. Whatever, electric eels, some other things, weird science stuff. It's comic book science in the comic book movie. Who cares? And then like all of a sudden, this becomes like a movie set around giant action pieces. I always remembered the Times Square Spider-Man Electro action piece that that was all over the advertising as being at the end of the movie. It's barely in the middle of the movie, and I'm watching this and eating my popcorn from in my Venom shirt, saying to myself, where is this movie going? Like what are we like what are we doing? There's so much left. There's just so much left, and it's like boom, it's a post that sequence we get like another movie. We get like a Green Goblin origin. We have they capture Electro. They're studying Electro. Like Electro's in prison, okay? And then we have this furthering this rekindling of the romance between Parker and Gwen Stacy. Now, the one thing in this movie looks amazing. It's well designed. I'm going to give you a few things here. And the music. Why do people hate it? Like people, when someone reviews a movie, and they don't go into the music, I just don't understand how that's possible. Like, are you not? They might say like design and the look of the movie, and that's as far as they go when it comes to like the aesthetics and the feeling. I don't know. Hans Zimmer does the music for this. It's so good, and it's also the Magnificent Six, and I'm not sure who those guys are. I'm just reading off of Wikipedia here, real quick for you. The music gets me, and there's this one scene where Parker sees Gwen Stacy from across the street, and he literally walks through traffic, mesmerized, and it's such a Mark Webb moment. It really is a Mark Webb moment. That scene alone, it's like I felt so connected to it. I feel like we're all there. Like we've all had moments like that where we see someone that we love, someone that we're drawn to, and there is like an invisible string that pulls us. It's masterful. But anyway, this movie has shots of masterful. This movie, of all of the Spider-Man movies, has some of the absolute best action sequences, using comic book logic, like using in the Times Square sequence, Spider-Man prevents everyone from touching a metal rail that's on the stairway, okay, and he's able to see everything in slow motion and in real time. And and they do a great job as setting up Electro as a villain of like, how are you going to beat this guy? Like what are we going to do against Electro? He's electricity. And everything builds into the Green Goblin and Electro teaming up against Spider-Man in a way that's just strict hatred. Like both of these characters have a real hatred for Spider-Man, and you do feel it between the two. Now, look, we're also dealing with the death of Gwen Stacy. This movie does something very cool, okay? When we're in the airplane in the beginning of the movie, which we can kind of call like the prologue, it starts with a super close-up shot of the Parker, the father, Ben, I forget his name, but anyway, the father's watch, okay, and it pulls away, and it's revealed that he's on an airplane, he's wearing that watch, and he's on his laptop, blah 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 blah. And the end of this movie, okay, after Electro's been defeated, we have Green Goblin versus Spider-Man in another sequence of the death of Spider-Man's girlfriend, Glider, Green Goblin versus Parker, that we saw in the 2002 Tobey Maguire Spider-Man. And this is designed to have an intent and feeling. This is designed to be the death of Gwen Stacy. Now, they do the death just like in the comic, the death of Gwen Stacy, but they're inside of a clock tower. And Gwen Stacy's falling, and all the gears of the clock are falling around the two of them. And it's symbolic to what happened with the father on that airplane. And I just thought that was deep. I thought that was such a interesting visual. Again, this movie has multiple bookends. It's amazing. And Gwen Stacy dies. Green Goblin gets defeated. I like the Green Goblin's design. He definitely looks evil and menacing, and he's all messed up. But well, whatever. People don't. And I just sat down and I just enjoyed this movie. And the melodrama is so thick. I like how it's broken up with some of these outlandish performances. To me, comic book movies should have outlandish performances. I view Robert Downey Jr.'s Tony Stark as similar. It's outlandish. It's no different than Jamie Foxx and Jim Carrey, or even Tommy Lee Jones as Two-Face. Yeah, we're doing a lot of Batman Forever references, because he's so over the top as Tony Stark. You can't take it seriously. Like, you can't even take other people taking him seriously. It doesn't matter how brilliant he is. Like, you would never take that guy seriously, not in 100 years. This is so much the same, and I just love how people's mind, they can extrapolate and convince themselves that one is normal and the other is not. And the only reason why they universally agree that Jamie Foxx botched the performance as Electro in Amazing Spider-Man 2 is because they were told. That's it. They were told. The marching sheep come here. Bah bah bah. They tell you what to think, and you're thinking that, and you can barely watch the movie. You cannot enjoy the movie because you've been poisoned. And to say that the Amazing Spider-Man 3 isn't a successful movie in the right of filmmaking and production and acting and all these other pillars, okay, that we need to make a big blockbuster movie that we all love. We all love blockbusters. To say it's not successful on those notes, and you're not really looking. You're not looking at the movie at all, and you're not looking at the movie successfully. You're not. Okay, you're doing low-hanging fruit opinions, and you're destroying film discussion. This movie complements Amazing Spider-Man. This movie works so well with Amazing Spider-Man. It's a 1-2 punch that I really love, and I hate that they set up a lot. They set up so much, and I hate that we won't get more of these, because I think something good was happening here. I think something really, really good was happening. Far more was happening here than was happening with Last Jedi. I will tell you that. Okay, everyone, I love you. Rock and roll. Do me a favor. Do what I did. Go into a movie that you're convinced it sucks. I'm not talking about Double Dragon or Super Mario Brothers, but I'm talking about a movie that optically looks like it should be fantastic, and just sit down and just watch that movie for the first time. Even watch Double Dragon for the first time and pick out focus on the good things and the good ideas and what did get executed and communicated, and what you think is trying to be said to you while you're watching the movie. Sitting down and just criticizing movies and ripping them apart just because does everything a disservice. Okay, there's nothing to be gained with that. And I'm not saying we can't discuss why movies are not good. I'm not saying we can't discuss what's not good in some movies. But there's just too much. There's not enough love. I hate to say it, but look, rock and roll. Let's get going. We got some things to do. We're busy people, but let's rock and roll. Until next time. I'm not sure what's happening in episode 210. I might have said this was episode 2. And my numbering's all off. Episode 210, I'm not really sure. I think we're done with Spider-Man. Maybe we'll do Stranger Things. Maybe we'll. Let me know. I'm out there. At AKAPAD on the Twitter. I'll talk to you. Bye.